Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Shua Allegra, and I'm interviewing some old and new friends who are authors and talking about their writing journey. So today I have Jenna with me, and so I'll just give you a chance here to let the world know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Shu. It's just such a blessing for sure. Just really excited to speak to your audience. My name is Jenna Barbosa, and I am an emotional freedom coach. And I do that and just absolutely love inspiring resilience in others to help them walk just more emotionally free in life. It's a hard thing to do sometimes when we have all the things combating our emotions, and so I'm really loving walking alongside of them, helping women specifically, but really help them learn to experience, embrace, and express their emotions in a way that really moves them forward in life. So that's what I do. And then I wear some other hats in life, but that's really my passion and my drive.
Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for what you do. I see that we have more in common than I realize, even. Um, so, with all that, all the hats that you do wear, how did you get into writing?
I think that writers always are either speaking their words or writing them. And, from an early age, I just was always the one that, my friends would come to and I'd encourage them and I'd be able to take a situation and kind of just smooth it over with my words and really just, it's almost kind of like a form of art. You just make something that's beautiful with your words to be able to help somebody feel something differently, think differently, and it's just a tool that helps them lean forward. And so honestly, I've just always written in small doses, either on social media or in my journal or
Mm.
letters. Fun fact about me, Shu, in my family, I am the one who writes books as Christmas cards or birthday cards. And so I've always loved words. Words are very important to me. They hold so much weight, they bring life or death. So I'm very intentional with the words that I use,
Mm.
especially when I'm showing love to people. And so I've always just been the butt of the joke in the family of they'll pull out my card and be like, well, here's Jenna's book. So honestly, I've just always written, and it wasn't until just recently in my life where I actually got into the author lane in a really
Mhm.
structured way. So it's always been a big passion of mine.
Yeah, yeah. And I think most of us, it's who are not authors, that's kind of, the story, our stories are very similar, not just you and I, but many other that I interview here and met along the way. It's we always been writing, and then one day just like, oh, I have to take this writing seriously. Or someone else taps you in the shoulder and say, hey, your writing needs to be shared, and then you move forward with it.
Yeah.
So when you do write, how do you get in the flow? Like, where do you find your inspiration?
I'm very much an extrovert, so I draw people or I draw energy from people, and I've taken like a fun personality test that actually gives you like percentages of introvert and extrovert, and I'm
Hmm.
like 92% extrovert.
Very extrovert.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I just kind of always joke around like I have about an 8% margin of introvert time, then I need people. So honestly, I draw a lot of my inspiration with writing from the coaching sessions I do when I'm either counseling or coaching my clients. Just brings a ton of inspiration for me because
Hmm. Hmm.
a lot of times when we hear ourselves speak words of truth to people, it sparks something within us. And
Yeah.
as a faith person who believes in Christ and follows Christ in my life, a lot of that comes
Hmm.
just from that relationship with Him in those sessions. And I'm like, that was definitely not me. I'm not smart enough for that to come out of my mouth. And so that definitely came from somewhere else. And that just, it teaches me, it helps me, it grows me. And then I find myself, popping on social media and being like, hey, have you guys thought about this? And so I
Hmm.
draw a lot of inspiration from my conversations with people. And then environmentally wise, coffee is my love language. So I go to coffee houses. I've just kind of parked it in coffee houses and wrote a lot in my life.
Hmm.
So really, people and environment are big for me. And that really
Yeah.
pushes me into that headspace to be able to really get into the flow.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love those moments, like you say, you're just like, oh, this did not come out of me. So just recently, I was reading something. This happened to me, many times where I'll read something that I've written before. I'm like, did I write this? Or just like you, I'll be in a session where I actually literally just got off a session with a client, and as she's talking and I just brought her something, and then she reminded me of that, of whatever what it is that I said, like later in the session. I'm like, I did. And she's like, you just said that shoot never 10 minutes ago. And so it is that good and that fun and that just enjoyable when like the Holy Spirit just takes over, and
Yeah.
that had to be a truth that need to be shared, because there's no way even my human intellect level, put that together, you know. So yeah, it
Yeah, I hear you. There's so many times in session that I'll be like, wait a minute, that was really good. I need to just write that down for myself, because that I want to really mull over that and adopt that into my own belief system in a bigger way and apply that in my life. So there are definitely those moments where it's just like, wow, that was not for me. That was something that on my own devices would not come up with. So I hear
mhm,
you. Those are some really powerful moments though, because we grow as well. I think that anytime that we are helping others, leading others, if we're not growing from that, then we're not doing it from an authentic place. I really
right,
believe that
right,
with all of my heart. And so I've done the most amount of growing spiritually, emotionally, and mentally within my own life, and even physically, just in community with others, helping them, getting into the nitty gritty stuff emotionally with them, and just it's been really powerful thing. So I love moments like that for sure.
yeah, yeah. So what are you writing right now? Like, what are your current writing goals?
Yeah, so I just actually published a book. So it's Tenacious Grace, my little book here.
Beautiful.
Within the last year, I just released it. So 2020, as crazy as this year has been the year that I released this book. And
Yeah,
what it is it's a book about overcoming emotional eating. It's redefining your relationship with food and ending emotional eating.
I love it.
And journey I've walked for many years and finally got serious about over the last few years. And like I was saying earlier, I feel like if we use the things that we're struggling with the most and really help others that are struggling with the same thing, it actually gets us above our perspective enough to be able to see, like, okay, I'm not the only one struggling with this. And if I can help them in their struggle, which is still my struggle, I can also teach myself and be taught by them and how they're handling their struggle. So there's such a beautiful thing in relationship where we teach each other even in the midst of our struggles and hard stuff. So
Mhm.
I stepped into that and wrote that book over the last 3 years. It started out shoot as support groups where I just was like, hey, let's get some girls together and
Mhm.
figure this problem out, because we in a world know how to lose weight and be healthy. There's so much information. The how is not the problem. It's really identifying the why. Why is this a problem to begin with?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so that was a big thing for me too, is just to step into that. So that was my first book. It is out into the world. I birthed that
Love it.
baby.
Love it.
um, my book baby, and I'm super proud of it, and just I love how God is using it to impact others on a heart level. And it's not a really this book is it's not about a body issue or a food issue. It's about a heart
Mhm.
issue, and
Mhm. Mhm.
my goal is really to point them to Christ and to freedom. So we learn to just cope in a way that really helps us move forward. So that's my first book that's out there. And I already am starting to write the second book behind that, which is actually devotional. So it'll
Mhm.
help carry you between chapters on the day to day, and just
Nice.
kind of expand that concept of really breaking free from food and
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
coping mechanisms in a bigger way. And that's slated to come out hopefully next year. That it'll be called Tenacious Pursuit. So
I
I'm
love
really
it.
excited for that. So we got
I
Tenacious Grace and then Tenacious Pursuit.
I love it. I love it. Can't wait to see that. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that, and thanks for the work that you do. And I actually, as you were talking, we are getting ready as we're recording this. We're actually in 2 weeks here. I think 2 weeks. Where I'm publishing and releasing a book called I Quit, and it's a collaboration with other women and one gentleman. Things that we all the things that we chose to let go of because no longer served us. And there's actually a very good friend of mine who's also right on the working on that project with us, and she wrote a chapter on emotional eating. And so yeah, when you as you're talking, it made me think of her and her chapter and in her story, that how
uh,
it's now it's helping her connect with others, and the healing that she has, that Christ helped her achieve, and Christ gave her, and now she's able to share that with others and help others grow from that. So
yeah, absolutely. That sounds like an amazing project to be a part of. One of my goals of future is to do a collaboration project like that. I think that's such a beautiful
oh,
thing.
anytime. Like I do them, honestly, this year it's been like nonstop. We had I have a Made to Overcome series that I've been doing this. That's how I started publishing my own collaboration project. I've done others with people, but then I started, leading some of my own. It starts the Made to Overcome series. We did two mental health one single parenting, one chronic illness one, and then in October I just started this doing the solo um collaboration project. I'm not part of the series, so we did one in October. It was and I can't think of too many books. I can't think the name of the book. I'm literally staring at it on my table. I can't read it from here. Well, we all belong, and it's
Oh,
it's about inclusion. It's about acceptance and kindness. And we actually released that on Unity Day in October, and then in November we released the Made to Overcome Caregivers Edition. So now in January I'm working on I Quit. It's like literally my friend of mine says, "Well, shoot, when do you quit?" I say, "I never quit writing. I
right.
quit a lot of things so I can
Yes,
write."
yes.
So
Yes. I love that so much. Yeah, I was starting to kind of work on my next book before I even had finished this first book. And God was like, Jenna, one thing at a time, sis. Like, you got this.
yeah.
I love that though. I love that ambition and that just, I think when, especially as writers and authors, we just really have a passion to be able to get what is helping us and our hearts heal and grow and be the best versions of ourselves. Like, it almost feels like against our own nature to hold that in. Like it feels almost selfish and self-centered to be like,
Mhm.
oh, I have all this good knowledge that's going around in my internal dialogue and I'm not getting
Mhm.
it out there to the world. It almost feels like a betrayal to our authentic self that God has
Mm.
created in that authoring aspect of our hearts. And it's it breathes life. I know, at least for me as an author, it breathes
Yes,
life
I agree.
when I get those words out there, and even verbally, just speaking, that goes a lot of hand in hands with authors. But I love so much to be able to see how the words God has given me to help my
Mhm.
own life pay that forward and see that help somebody else's life. It just breathes life into me so much. And so I'm always encouraging people, like, get it out there, like leave that legacy behind, because when we die, ain't nobody gonna remember what we're saying unless it's on paper, you know?
Mhm.
So it's definitely, or not even just on paper, but shared within relationship, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
another big powerful thing. A lot of my people will say, like, I hear your voice all the time.
Yep.
I
Yep.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it means that it's landing on some soil within their hearts and minds. So it's
Yes. Yes.
it's
And
exciting.
it's bearing fruit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, what has helped you along your writing journey?
I will tell you, a lot of prayer, a lot of support too. Support and accountability are huge. I think that me sharing my writing journey with my social media following and my family and my friends helped to recognize, okay, I have that goal out there. Am I going to be somebody that just constantly talks about a goal, or am I going to be somebody that actually puts it into practice and does it?
Mhm.
And it's in a way of saying, like, part of what I want to put out to the world is that resilience aspect. My
Mhm.
personal mission
Mhm.
is to inspire resilience and lead others to the heart of Christ. And so, um, within that resilience, it's, if nobody sees our struggle and nobody knows about our struggle,
Mhm.
resilience doesn't hold as much weight, because it's something that we have to push against the sandpaper of that accountability within that relational accountability aspect.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm doing this, I'm working toward a goal, and
Mhm.
I just hit a roadblock, and now I have to be resilient with that and bounce back and move forward. If you don't know that anything's going on, it's way easier to give up on myself before it is giving up on what I've worked hard to do. And you're going to hold me accountable to it, and you're going to support me. You're going to ask about it. It brings another level, I think, to any accomplishment we want to do in life, is whenever we
Mhm.
have that
Mhm.
accountability in place. So really, that was the big thing for me, honestly. She was just letting people in on that journey. And
Yeah.
when I got to the end last year, I mean, anybody that is following me that listens to this are going to be like, oh, I remember that. But my hard drive crashed, and I lost like 6
Mm.
months worth of edits, and I
Wow.
was devastated. Um,
Every writer's nightmare.
oh my gosh. And I even got the external hard drive because of that, but the actual hard drive, like, something shifted in it, and
Mm.
I thought I was safe. And it was extra. And literally the guy was like, well, I'm sorry, we can't get anything. It's magnetic dust. I'm like, oh, you're telling me
No,
words are magnetic dust? That is killer.
no. My
But
goodness.
anyway, so through that journey though, I had to remind myself like, man, I've got a whole tribe behind me, rooting me on. Like to get
Hmm.
too far to give up now would not only be letting me down, my future self down, but also people who are wanting and needing this information. And so uh, it's really a big thing to let people in on that journey. I tell you what, that's probably been the biggest thing. And then
Yeah,
just
yeah.
prayer, focus, and determination, and all the grit. All right, all the grit and grace.
Yeah, grit and grace. Well said. Well said. Oh, thank you so much for being here. It's been so fun and nice to get to know you and just to chat with you. But where can people find you?
People can find me on my website, jennabarbosa.com. And that is the hub of all things Jenna. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, but you'll find that on my website as well. So jennabarbosa.com is where you can find me.
That's
Or any
good.
coffee house.
With a laptop typing away. Yeah, the true writer's life. I totally get it. That's the one thing about this whole COVID thing that I miss. Like just being out and free and writing. I used to go to the library once and twice a week. I'll just block myself there all day long. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
So I miss that.
Or little weekend getaways to the
Hmm.
lake.
Hmm.
That was where I wrote probably half of my book was just little weekend getaways by myself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's been such a pleasure being here with you and just chatting with you. Thank you for letting me share my heart and just
Yeah.
share your platform. I just really admire that you have that. My podcast is going to be coming up next year, and so I'd love to have you as a guest as
Oh,
well.
definitely. You know where to find me. Oh, thank you. And then we'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sue.
Uh-huh. Bye.
Bye.